Warning: I read some stories on this channel that may be disturbing to some listeners. If you are disturbed by graphic content or obscene language, please kindly close this video and find content that will suit your desired experience. If you are prepared for the terrifying adventure that will soon commence, please sit back and enjoy the story. Welcome back to Night Terrors. Today's story is Itsy Bitsy by Baird. If you enjoy it, please let me know in the comments. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe as it really helps out my channel. But without further ado, let's get into the story. Mother, may you read me a bedtime story, or sing me to sleep? Little 6 years old, Maggie Pearson asked her mother, Erica. Of course, darling. Anything you want, but after you need to go to sleep. You have your first day of school tomorrow morning. You don't want to be tired now. Oh, I won't, Mother. I promise I will go to sleep right after. Erica smiled at her daughter. There was a downfall of rain that summer night, and little Maggie could not sleep. The sounds of thunder and the flashes of lightning bolts made her pull up the covers over her head. She kept pulling the covers down, below her eyes, to look around her dark bedroom. The window in front of her became saturated in pouring rain, and the tall tree that stood beside scratched its curly branches against the glass. Maggie wanted her mommy, but was too afraid to wake her up, thinking she would be angry if she were not asleep yet. Maybe she could wake up Daddy, so she could crawl in his side of the bed to sleep with him. Maggie was too scared to leave her bed though. As Maggie tried to fall asleep, she heard a strange noise coming from under her bed. She was in a moment of silence, and penetrated shock. The sound from under the bed became louder and clearer to her ears. It sounded almost like a schoolgirl teasing and snickering to herself from throwing little bits of paper and eraser shavings at her crush in class, unexpectedly. Then the snickering from under the bed became to be the silent whispers of mumbles. Maggie did not know what to do. The neighborhood kids told stories about the boogeyman, and how he lives under the beds of children during the night, and will snack on them when they are unaware of the situation. Right now, Maggie was aware. The rain continued throughout the night and into the early morning. Maggie's father, Lance Pearson, was up at 4:30 in the morning to get ready for work. Maggie was still awake, and she could hear her father's footsteps in the upstairs hallway going downstairs to prepare himself a cup of coffee. It has been nearly 8 hours in bed, and Maggie could not sleep. She could not even close her eyes. The sound from underneath was keeping her awake like a stimulant. She wanted to sleep, but was always denied. A couple more hours later and her mom will have to wake her up for school. Maggie is going to have a rude awakening if she sleeps. If it will let her sleep. An hour went by and Maggie could hear her father's truck pulling out of the driveway to leave for work. The rain was beginning to stop, and only sprinkles and slight wind remained. The mumbles below started to fade away like the storm. Maggie could now get the much-needed rest she deserved. She closed her eyes and fell asleep. Erica heard a loud scream from downstairs. She quickly rushed upstairs to check on Maggie. It was 6:30, and Erica wondered what could have made a noise such as what she heard. When she opened Maggie's bedroom door, snores of slumber were introduced to her from her daughter. She was asleep, and a noise like what Erica heard would have waked up Maggie. Erica walked over to her daughter's bed and gave her a kiss on the forehead. "Love you, Maggie," she whispered. It was 7:45, which was the time Maggie needed to wake up to get ready for school. Erica stopped making breakfast and marched up the stairs to wake up Maggie. She wondered what the scream was an hour ago from now. Was she just hearing things, or was it in fact real? Erica tried to not think about it. "It's the Itsy Bitsy spider. There it is, it's here for us. Come and see." Erica could hear Maggie in her room and wondered what she was talking about so quietly. As Erica opened her daughter's bedroom door, she could hear Maggie singing to herself. "It's the Itsy Bitsy. Oh yes. The Itsy Bitsy spider, who climbed up to the window. He came down, and I watched his webbing unfold. Here he is, So be happy he arrived. He only comes once, so say hi before he says goodbye. Oh, it's the Itsy Bitsy spider, and I'm glad he's alive. Maggie, good morning. What are you doing up already? Are you excited for your first day? Erica saw her daughter was up out of bed and staring out the window, singing to herself. Maggie? Are you all right? Maggie was not responding. She had her face away from her mother from across the bedroom. She just kept looking out the window and singing. Singing the song her mother never heard or taught her. Maggie, answer me! You're making me scared. Erica began to walk up to the back of her daughter, and as soon as she became close, Maggie stopped singing and a drop of liquid landed on Erica's forehead. She touched her forehead and smeared the liquid against her fingers. It was saliva. Erica looked up, and on the ceiling was something she would have never imagined. Not even in her wildest dreams. It was a man, well, what resembled a man's appearance to Erica, but unusual. It was some sort of humanoid who had all pale skin, not a single hair on its body, eyes that were pitch black without the lids to protect them, no genitals, no legs, a neck that arched its head only face forward, little holes for ears and a nose, 3 arms on each side of its body, a pair connected to the hips, another on the side of the ribs, and the last on the shoulders. It was a creature. A human spider. Aya! Stay away from my daughter! Take me instead! Erica begged the creature as it leaped off the ceiling and onto the floor, showing its brown as would razor teeth. It enlarged the opening of its mouth. Salvia seeped out like a dog with rabies, foaming at the mouth. The skull formation began to push out and indent its head as it looked at Erica and started to move forward to her, widening its jaw, leaving a trail of dripping saliva on the floor. Please, no! Stop it! Do not come near my daughter! Take me, not her! Erica quickened her movement to Maggie to guard her from the savaged, starved creature. Erica closed her eyes as she held on tightly to Maggie's gown. She could feel the creature's warm breath against her face, and the excessive spits of saliva wetting her body. Erica opened her eyes. It was like staring into an opaque mirror or into space. She could only see blackness in the eyes of the creature. It fazed her to stay still and continue to stare into them. The creature's skull moved inside its head like a repetitive twitch of motion. Its neck began to extend closer to Erica's face as its head stayed in the same straightforward position. Erica's nose pressed against the creature's miniature holes of a nose. She closed her eyes once again, and for the first time of her life they remained closed. Maggie proceeded to look out the window as she could hear her mother being ate alive by the creature. She sang the Itsy Bitsy song once again with tears rolling down her cheeks. The creature was behind her, biting away at Erica's neck, pulling away from it to swallow the blood and flesh, and repeating the process to the rest of the body. Maggie watched as the yellow school bus drove down the street to go to school for the first day. It was her first day and Erica's last. The house was silent, and no signs of anyone was close. Honey, I'm home! Lance walked in the house, welcoming himself to his wife as normal. He received no answer back from his wife. Maggie, Erica, is anyone home? It was too quiet for the Pearson homestead, as frequently Erica would be preparing dinner, and Maggie would be watching television or playing in the living room. Lance took off his shoes and walked through the house, making his way up the stairs. Maggie, are you home? How was your first day at school, sweetie? There was no response. Lance marched his way to Maggie's bedroom. He knocked on the door with a clam motion on his hand. A few seconds went by and no reply. What was going on? Was anybody home? He opened the door and Maggie was not in her room. His wife and his daughter could not be found. Lance never felt any more alone. Lance walked downstairs calling out his family's names. Maggie, Erica. Where are you two? Again no answer. Where could they be? A thump was made from upstairs. Maggie, is that you? Lance ran to the stairs. Maggie. Are you there? A moment of silence swept through the air, then he heard her. Daddy, are you home? Lance could hear Maggie's voice from upstairs in her bedroom. Sweetie, why didn't you answer me? You nearly scared me to death. Is Mommy with you? Again, another moment of pure silence. Maggie? All of a sudden Lance felt the stairway shake, then a crashing stomp landed on the stair steps, going down to Lance, in front of his toes. He could feel a presence in front of him. Coming from down the steps in a rapid, forceful launch, was Erica's dead body. Her body slammed against the wall as she made her way to Lance's legs, tumbling him down to the ground. Lance opened his eyes and saw his wife's lifeless, gnawed-off face pushed against his. The face was a red muscle and bloody tendons, ripping off her facial bones. He screamed with all the oxygen inside his lungs and kept screaming a constant rhythm. It sometimes hesitated, and came back up breathing heavily, which made his wife's body thrust up from his. Behind Erica's torn, blood-red hair, Lance witnessed his daughter. Maggie was on the ceiling, moving in an akin, seizure animation. Her legs arose behind her head, as she started to run down the ceiling to the wall of the stairway. Maggie's heart pumped viciously and continually, appearing to attempt to push its way out of her chest. She jumped off from the wall and landed on a stair step. She had a mouthful of blood pouring out, and her crawling appearance vaguely described it to Lance as a monster. Maggie's hands and her head were twisted the other way around along with her feet that were a bit crooked, and her spinal cord stuck out of her skin, leaving it for Maggie to bite on as she made her way forward to her father. Lance took Erica's body and threw it off him to be encountered by the vision of his daughter's head to twist around back in place, and for her to leap out at him, screaming in a tone that sounded like burbling phlegm of an upcoming vomit of excessive bulks of black bile and blood. Maggie feasted on her father, Lance, as he tried to scream for help. He couldn't. It was transferred to cries of pain the second Maggie bit into Lance's jugular, and from then on, life in the Pearson household became absolutely silenced for good. On the ceiling, a short distance away from the feeding, was the human spider-like creature. It watched Maggie as she fed on her father, and licked up the blood from the open wound and the surrounding area. It made it hungry, and Maggie was the only food in sight. The creature began to crawl its way from the ceiling to Maggie. Once you close your eyes, you think there is a safe place ahead, but in reality, you are being watched from above like a bird soaring down on you, flying by your heads. There will always be someone there, and you will be dependent on them when you don't even know you will be. Keep thinking what you are doing right now is in private. It isn't. There are eyes everywhere looking at you. The one above could be watching you, or it could be that red man down below. Or it could just be me. You never know. Thanks for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this story. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And I will see you in the next video.